Okay, so where did we live off? I can't really remember. So, so we're talking about, dresses and wearing sort of plain dresses, because that's what they're referred to as the plain dresses, or the Mennonites and the Amish and things like that. Oh, that's what I was saying. I was saying that they pretty much cornered the market on dresses that you can do farm work in. That's because they're, in other words, practical dresses. Not that my other clothes aren't practical, but most of them, they don't double as things that I can wear out to the field. They just don't. And unless it's like jeans and a t-shirt, I think most people's clothing is sort of like you can't normally wear it to the field unless you it's really old. So it's one of those things where I guess I'm just trying to find the happy medium, because I think that as Christians we do have a responsibility to stand out. A lot of people say, like, you'll see like arguments online when anybody brings up like head covering on a forum or something like that, and that's when the cat claws out. I mean, if you want to get cussed out, almost cussed out by some charitable Christians, then bring up head covering for women and see just how well you fare. Um, and and I mean I've seen it. It actually I was on a in a chat room once, and boy did the cat claws came out when I just said, oh yeah, I like to dress nicely for mass on Sunday. I mean, this person was very angry with me, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, good gravy. Um, but it's it's one of those things where we are told to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. That sort of entails standing out. In this culture of death, people should know that you're not a part of it. People should know that you're a Christian. That's how it is. You shouldn't be blending in that much. Now, do you have to go around wearing, certain types of clothing or certain? No. I think there's certain levels of it for everybody. But at the end of the day, people should know that you're a Christian. People should know that you are a follower of Christ. That's just how it is. And let's see. Now I'm sure there's a there's see, this is where I sort of get caught up and I end up sort of going in circles in my head. There's a line, and I think it's a balance, and it also has to do with your intent. You can't you can't want to stand out for the glory of it. Um, Everything should be towards glorifying God. So if you do something for your own glory, then that's probably not a good reason to do it. However, if you're doing something that's for the glory of God and obedience to God or what have you, and it makes you stand out, then standing out is more collateral damage. Like, sort of my wearing a dress to the field. People noticing that is sort of collateral damage. In the future, because my advisor, she was like, yeah, people are not going to really like it when you, or she didn't say that, but she said that because I'd be working with farmers, they are going to be scared off pretty much by people who don't act like them. So not exactly normal, but just like them. I've met some people like that. It's not fun. Um, and she said that they want people who look normal. And I'm sort of like, well, if this costs me, a job, then that's kind of collateral damage as well. Um, so it's one of those things where standing out and being noticed, undue attention to yourself, may end up just being collateral damage that at the end of the day, I guess it depends on your tolerance level that you just deal with. That's what I did over the summer. I'm sort of like, well, I don't think I have any other options if I'm going to pull off this, dress wearing thing. So people noticing, people thinking I'm completely out of my mind, all of that, it's just collateral damage that I'll just have to deal with for the glory of God. And I'm okay with that. But I still feel self-conscious. And I think I feel self-conscious wearing anything but jeans and a t-shirt. But then, see, the self-consciousness I feel now is outward. It's what do people see, what do people think. If I were to put on pants or shorts, it would be an inward sort of self-consciousness. It would be like, what does God think? Can people, like, I feel so immodest, I feel so exposed. And just want to put a disclaimer out there, nothing against people who wear pants or things like that. This is just for me. But when I dress a certain way, I like to, lately I've sort of noticed that I like feeling covered. I feel protected when, I'm modestly dressed. I can't go out of my room even for a few minutes when my roommates, because I have male roommates, unfortunately, believe me, if it were my choice, that would not be the way it is. I can't go out without a skirt and a head covering on, making sure I'm completely covered. Otherwise, I feel so completely exposed. So I feel exposed in, like, wearing this out to the field, in that it's outward. It's sort of like, people notice me, I don't want to be noticed, I feel weird, I look weird, all of those things. Versus if I were to put on shorts or pants, it would be something that's very inward. It would feel like I'm very exposed. Anyone can see me. It would come from the inside versus the outside coming in. And I may not be explaining that correctly, but I think that's what it is. It's like either way I'd feel uncomfortable, but one would be outward, sort of the outside coming in. What do people think? People notice, all of that, versus inward, like I'm exposed, I can be seen, I have, just things that I don't want to happen. So I think that would sort of be the situation in any case. And I guess that's just something I'll have to deal with this summer and the next summer, and because, as uncomfortable, as self-conscious as I feel, I feel kind of weird walking around in a dress and big work boots and things like that. It's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, I can say, well, I did what I thought that I had to do. And that's really what matters. So, I'll keep doing it until I find some other alternative. And I know that I would feel very uncomfortable in pants. I haven't worn pants in about a year. And when I did, I felt very exposed. I kept pulling down my t-shirt, like trying to cover up my sort of, at least to mid-thigh, I kept trying to cover up to there. And it just felt so uncomfortable. It felt terrible. I felt so exposed. And I'm like because I didn't feel like that before. And since I have been wearing, because this semester, this fall, I've been experimenting with longer skirts and things like that. And at least maybe not exactly down to the ankle, but just longer skirts that always cover the knee when I'm sitting. And I noticed that when I put on one of my shorter skirts that just barely covers my knees when I'm standing up, I felt exposed. I'm like, and this is one of my favorite skirts. I love this skirt so much, but then I put it on and I'm like, this does not feel comfortable. It's like once you start putting it into practice, it's amazing how other things, like you start, like beforehand I was just sort of like, well, I don't know, let me see, because I sort of felt like sort of leaning, well, it's not that I really wanted to, but I just sort of felt sort of like maybe I should reconsider my modesty guideline, or my sort of personal guidelines and things like that, and try out longer skirts. Maybe this is God calling me to longer skirts or something like that, because before I was wearing skirts that came down to my knee only when I was standing. When I was sitting, my knees were exposed. And my skirts had slits, and I think I said this in the other video. So those were things that, you know, I sort of plucked out of my wardrobe, which left me with very little. And also, you know, shirts with sleeves that come down to the elbow, and, you know, 2 fingers from the pit of the collar. So I was doing those things. I'm sort of like, well, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really feel any different. I mean, I'll probably go back to it once the warm weather hits or something like that. I don't think that's going to be possible. I'm starting to sort of feel only right in long skirts and sleeves that cover up to a certain point. So it's amazing. Like, once you actually do it, once you go out, I guess you could say, step out in faith. It's amazing how you start feeling like, I can't go back now. So there's that. And I can't remember what that point was supposed to lead into. I'm just rambling at this point. But still, it's one of those things where if I put, that's what I was talking about, to put on pants at this point, I would just feel so exposed. I don't even want to think about it. It's like, I can't, it's just like walking out the house with my hair uncovered. At one point, I was sort of like, yeah, I could do that. In fact, when I first started, I'd cover sometimes, but not all the time, and every now and then, I'm like, okay, let me put it on all the time. Now, it's practically like my hair. It's like, it's a part of me. Where I go, it goes. Except for when I'm around, like, women and stuff like that. If I'm in a situation where it's nothing but women, then I'll take it off. I spent Christmas with consecrated lay people, and it was all women, and I had my hair out, and it was so nice to finally have my hair uncovered and feel nice about it. But any other time, it's just one of those, you know, it's like, no, I cannot take it off. So it's amazing how you will become attached, I guess you could say, to the coverage once you actually take on the coverage. Before then, you're sort of like, yeah, well, I feel fine in this. It's perfect. I feel good. It's okay. But once you actually go out there and do it for a while, you're sort of like, I can't go back. So hopefully this doesn't turn into like a burqa thing. It's sort of like, oh, let me put everything on. And it's like, oh, wow, I don't feel comfortable ever being seen by anyone but my husband, ever. I don't want to go that far. I hope God doesn't want me to go that far. So yeah, so, you know, so that's sort of my dilemma, where it's like, I wear this dress, I look weird, but it's really practical, and it's great, and it does all sorts of things for me, or I find some alternative, I don't know what. I mean, if you guys have alternatives, you know, hit me up. Something that breathes, something that's comfortable, something that I can work in and can get grubby in, something that is feminine. It doesn't have to be feminine. I mean, if it's a burlap sack skirt, then, you know, hey, that's going to breathe, and I'm sure things like that. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, that'll be great. I have no issue with that. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about some other things in terms of dresses and skirts and things like that, and I think I'll talk about that in the next video. I have no idea how much time you have with these new YouTube videos. At one point it was like 14 minutes. I don't want to go over anything like that. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video.